So, the Sins of the Past update just dropped, and it's without a doubt the best update so far. Each rework feels fresh and unique, and fairly balanced for the most part. So naturally I decided to rank every reworked character way too early. Now obviously these rankings are going to change drastically with nerfs and buffs for the first few days, so this ranking will probably be outdated within a few weeks. I mostly made this video just to look back on it later and see how wrong I was. Anyway, onto the ranking.
What the segment?
At number 4 we have Classic Sans. Now, Classic probably has the most unique kit out of everyone on this list, and is definitely the hardest to play out of all of the new reworks. And it's for that reason he's at 4. Since the update just came out, nobody has found any game-breaking tech or combo as of now, except for the one I was shown, but I am not revealing that to the public since it's way too busted and is completely undodgeable, doing all of your HP. Classic has 2 phases and a special attack called Retribution, and without a doubt the coolest map in the game. Sans also has air variations of moves. He is also without a doubt the most agile character in the game. You basically cannot get a hit on Classic unless you're willing to take a bit of damage or use an ability. He hard counters tons of weapons like Spear, with his force push being able to punish the burrow move. His biggest weakness is probably area denial weapons. Weapons like Coffin K, Ballet Shoes and Worn Dagger are all really good against Classic. His special attack is also without a doubt the strongest in the game, basically being a HP check since his no cooldown phase is basically undodgeable. Now you might be saying, but wanker, Classic seems absolutely busted with all of these things you're talking about. And yes, Classic is an amazing character. Just because he's at number 4 doesn't mean he's bad. All of the characters in the update are really strong and there isn't much of a gap between them. But if you're wanting to play more casually and don't want to learn the in and outs of a complicated character, I would not use Classic. Someone like Revenge or Horror would be a better pick for you. That's all for Classic, so let's continue with the ranking, shall we? At number 3 we have Swap Papyrus. Swap Papyrus is absolutely insane in both phases. However, his playstyle drastically changes from phase 1 to 2. Phase 1 is completely campy, and there's not much to write home about visually except the map. But his phase 1 is deceptively strong. He has an insane damage output and his busted camping, with Bone Toss pretty much having a 3-second cooldown when the move is over and doing tons of damage on top of his Bone Wave and Bone Arang. You basically can never consistently hit him. On top of that, if you do manage to get to him, he has a get off me tool in his Bone Stomp, meaning it's a nightmare trying to get hits on the guy without at least taking a bit of chip damage. Phase 1 also has Orange Soul variants for moves, like turning his Boomerang from 4 bones into 1 bone with spikes following it, meaning you can play in a few different ways and change your playstyle up to suit the match. And then you have Phase 2, which is basically just hardtail but done right. Swap Papyrus's Bone Stomp is arguably one of the best moves in the entire game. With its unreactable startup and great combo potential, it basically forces enemies to stay mid-range so they don't get hit by it. Swap Papyrus's kit mostly focuses on mid to close range combat with combos, much like hardtail. However, this time you actually need to combo. Stuff like Bone Wave is now a damage tool instead of a camping tool. Dunk is also an amazing counter and probably the funniest move in the entire game. One of Swap Papyrus's main flaws is that he can get outranged pretty easily in phase 2. Stuff like empty gun can pick and choose when to attack, forcing Papyrus to go on the aggressive, meaning they are more prone to attacks from other players from behind. Thankfully his counter is great for stopping people from zoning you out. He's definitely a very good character, although the people above him are just better overall. Now on to the number 3 spot. At number 2, we have Disbelief Papyrus. Surprisingly, Disbelief is fairly well balanced, besides phase 2 and 3, but we'll get to them in a minute. Now, visual wise, Disbelief is the coolest fight in the entire game. Everything in the fight is so faithful to the original it feels like you're playing a one-to-one recreation with the amazing sprite work. Phase 1 is actually really solid, having amazing attacks that force players to respect your space on top of really good damage. Phase 1 has tons of little things about them that make them so unique and good. I'll be covering all the little secrets and Easter eggs and secret techs in my upcoming ULC video, so stay tuned for that. After phase 1 you get probably the most boring phase in the entire fight. Phase 2 is boring but also stupidly strong. The platforms paired with the blue blasters and homing blasters are just plain unfair. Combining them create an undodgeable mess of attacks unless you have some sort of iframe move. Without his platforms, phase 2 would be much worse than it is currently. They also don't regen stamina in phase 2, so I don't see the need of a blink. So far, Disbelief is pretty good, but phase 3 is where shit really hits the fan. Phase 3 is the coolest phase I have ever seen in any Sans vs Chara game, period. It is a one-to-one recreation of the original, down to the music being timed perfectly except for the transition from Undyne to Sans. Please fix this devs, it's actually so annoying. The phase starts with a Sans and Papyrus attack section. Papyrus has his attack bar drained through using attacks and being attacked. This is the best part about the phase. His attacks can be undodgeable if you can aim your blaster spam, and if you get lucky with Sans, you can do tons of damage. Next is the Pong section, probably the most skill-based part of the entire fight. If you're good at Pong, this attack can be insane. If you can understand trajectories, you can set up instances where an attack is undodgeable. After that, you go on to the Undyne phase, the most boring part of the entire fight. This part is really boring, but the model is absolutely peak. There's not much to write home about here. Next is Sans, and this part is unironically my favorite part of the fight, purely visual-wise. I feel like his moveset could be way better since it's all just reused attacks, but besides that this part is so cool. After that the phase ends, abruptly, and we get onto phase 4, the final phase. This phase is fairly easy to dodge if the enemy is just spamming and not really aiming their few aimable moves. It's definitely very accurate to the original though, even down to the spare ending at the end. I also had a bug where it just didn't give me the jump hour buff because I used Worn Dagger's integrity ability. So with all that you may be asking, why isn't Disbelief at number 1? Well, it's not that Disbelief isn't good enough to be a top tier, because he definitely is one. But the next character is just plain broken. At number 1, we have Revenge Papyrus, the most broken character in the entire game at the moment. Revenge has without a doubt the highest damage in the game, one-shotting with his bomb move if someone gets caught in it. He also has insane bullet hell, so combine bullet hell with high damage and you can only imagine how strong Revenge is. Revenge also has a repel, which essentially makes him overpowered. If he hits it he gets a lot of meter, meaning his attacks will get stronger, meaning he gets better. On top of all of that he also has a phase 1.5. Which is the exact same as phase 1 except now he suddenly wants to start blocking. This just makes Revenge Papyrus absolutely insane, essentially giving him a second chance to hit all of his one-shot moves. Revenge is probably the most boring character visually in this update, but ironically he's also the best. Anyway, that's all from me. Feel free to discuss about your own rankings in the comment section. I like reading your guys' opinions and testing your combos or techs out. Until next time, peace.